Ashlyn.
And I'm Zach.
We're traveling A to Z.
This week we're exploring the state parks of Maine.
Our first stop on our road trip this week is to St. Croix Island International Historic Site.
So we're at St. Croix National Monument Site. Across the way there's St. Croix Island, which was first inhabited by the Indians, and then the French came over with boats and started to inhabit the island. That was the first time French were here in this area, and that's why it's so special, because their influence of French culture intertwined with the Indians, and then that's how the French language and the French people spread throughout Canada. Here is the Indians that were here beforehand, Passamaquoddy Indians. I think I'm saying that wrong, but that's who were here when the French came over.
So the French were worried about being attacked by the natives, so that's why they settled on an island, even though it was a lousy place to have a settlement.
Approximately 70 Frenchmen came over the first year. Unfortunately, it was really cold the first year on the island.
35 of the men died, and they're actually buried on the island. That's one of the reasons we actually can't go and visit, and because there's a lot of erosion, so they don't want us to actually go to the island, but they have this nice interpretive trail to basically get the history of the area with statues and little information boards.
That is the island of LaCroix, or Saint LaCroix.
Our next stop is to Grindstone Falls, which is actually at a rest stop.
So we are in Maine, and we are exploring one of the national monuments. One of our first stops is actually at a rest stop, and it is called Grindstone Falls. So here is the falls. Not huge falls. I mean, they're more like a little rock cascade, but it's pretty, and there's like lots of fall leaves and bugs, but very cool.
Our next stop is to the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. This monument is located in northern Maine, and it's on the eastern border of the Baxter State Park. It has lots of gorgeous rivers, trees, and animals in it. It's also supposed to be a really popular place for leaf peeping, which is the saying the New Englanders use to go look for fall leaves.
We at Stone Picnic Area. We took the wrong turn, but it's really pretty.
We're currently looking for the Katahdin Loop Road, which is the must-do thing when you're in this national monument.
So we've been searching for this loop road for a while. We're here. We're not even close to the loop road, which is all the way over here.
One thing to note, there's no cellular service out here, so make sure you download a map prior to coming. After about an hour driving around, we finally found the loop road.
We made it to first view. So over there is Baxter State Park, and that is part of the Appalachian Mountains, and that's the tallest mountain in Maine. It's like at 5,000 something feet.
Mount Katahdin is the ending of the northern part of the Appalachian Trail. The loop road is 16 miles total, and it takes 12 miles on a dirt road to get to the start of the loop road.
There's some potholes, but I think if you go slow, you can make it in a regular two-wheel drive car, as long as there's no like mud and it hasn't just rained. I think it'd be a little challenging in some sections if it was really wet, the road. I enjoyed it. It's really nice for going leaf peeping, and there was tons of fall leaves, and I recommend it.
Our fourth stop is to the beautiful Baxter State Park.
Baxter State Park, designed to always remain primitive, narrow, winding dirt roads, providing access to the park facility and trail with 20-mile-per-hour speeds. The road was first created as a horse-driven wagon, supplying lumber and sporting camps.
Baxter State Park houses the highest peak in Maine called Baxter Peak or Mount Katahdin. There's a nice drive through the park where you can stop at different ponds, lakes, rivers, and also different camping sites. We're going to take you on some of our favorite stops as we drove through the park.
So right now, the Baxter State Park is gorgeous. It's all the fall leaves are changing colors, and I would say 70 to 90% of all the leaves have changed, maybe even more. So this is Mount Baxter behind me. This is the end of the Appalachian Trail. And so at this park, this is where everyone ends. And there it is. So we are currently at Kidney Pond, and this is Kidney campsite, and you can rent little cabins. They have a little library, a sitting area, and then the pond.
The surrounding area of the lake is gorgeous with the leaves starting to change, and it's nice because you can rent a canoe if you want. Our next stop is to Ledge Falls.
This is their idea of a waterfall. It's more of a cascade.
It's really pretty. This is Ledge Falls. Maine does not have very many waterfalls, so they take what they could get.
We're on South Branch Pond in Baxter State Park in Maine, looking for moose. Haven't seen one yet, but we're looking really hard.
So we're also looking and searching for all the fall leaves. This park's cool. There's tons of camping everywhere, and there's actually a lot of cabins and stuff you can rent here too. It's pretty neat. Definitely a place I want to come back and go like rent a cabin and stay by the pond and go canoeing. They have like canoes for rent. This is the Grand Lake, but it's really pretty and clear and not a wave, not wind, nothing. And it's a really big lake.
In the lake, we even got to see a frog swimming around. This was our last stop in Baxter State Park. Our next state park is to Grafton Notch State Park. This state park has spectacular mountains and has some of the top 12 challenging miles of the Appalachian Trail. While driving through the park, there are short hikes along with impressive waterfalls and gorges.
So we made it to Grafton Notch State Park, which is in Maine. It's in kind of the southern aspect of Maine, and we're gonna go check out this park.
We're at Screw Falls. We're gonna go see a waterfall.
This waterfall is one of the most visited waterfalls in Maine because it's really easily accessible by the road. It's a flat trail that's approximately 1 mile round trip.
So this is Screw Waterfall.
And it is a plunge and cascade type of waterfall that's approximately 25 feet tall.
So our next stop is the Mother Walker Falls. This is pretty close to the waterfalls we just went to. It's just right down the road.
This is an old wagon road. It's now abandoned.
So throughout this park, there's a whole bunch of carriage roads that were used a long time ago, but I guess they weren't very successful, and they never really used the carriage roads much. But they still have them all over, and there's just abandoned roads everywhere. I don't know, we're not sure what Mother Walker Falls looks like. There's a little falls, it's like a foot tall, and there's this big gulch with big rocks, which is pretty, but the trail really kind of ends at the carriage road, so did not find anything else along this little trail. I think everyone else is trying to find what this Mother Walker Falls is. We found another trail on the other side of the parking lot. This actually looks like a legit trail. I bet you the waterfall's this way. Oh, the falls, we found it.
The deep gorge below is called Mother Walker Falls. Roaring over broken rocks and falling into little pools, the river gradually drops a total of 98 feet. Today the gorge is 43 feet deep and 1,000 feet long. It was made 14,000 years ago by glacial runoff.
Well, we found it. You can't really tell it's a waterfall, but it's a pretty little walk with a nice little view of the gorge. So our next stop is to Moose Cave.
We're on the Moose Cave Trail. It's a quarter-mile loop.
So this trail is supposed to have big rocks with moss, it's supposed to have beautiful trees and a cave somewhere.
Found a sign that said Moose Cave with an arrow. So it's not really a cave. This was a gorge, and then the rocks fell on top of it and created like a ceiling. I guess it's a cave, I don't know. But anyway, so the river's down there, and if you're not careful you can slip and fall in. Apparently a moose slipped and fell in, and that's why they call it Moose Cave, because they found a moose in there. And that's Moose Cave. Poor moose.
So it's hard to see, but a lot of the rocks have these little like ferns going on them, and they're super small. Look at this. Like little baby ferns, and it's super soft.
As we did the loop from Moose Cave, we came across a sign called Reindeer Moss. This area is covered by the reindeer moss, which is a lichen. The lichen is pale green to gray in color, and it's native to the Arctic tundra regions and survives in cool, moist forests, especially in the New England area.
The pale green.
I don't know. It's pale green to gray, that's what I was thinking. Or is it the stuff on the rocks?
Maybe it's this stuff. Maybe it's this stuff.
Or maybe it's the stuff on the tree.
It's this stuff.
Basically, we don't know what the reindeer moss is.
So we're way off, and this is what the reindeer moss looks like per Google.
So we just stopped at Spruce Meadow Picnic Area. They have picnic tables all around, little outhouses, and I'm gonna go see if I can find a meadow. It's a pretty area. Oh, it looks like there's a meadow. Maybe I'll find a moose.
This area is known to have a lot of moose, deer, and other animals and birds. Unfortunately, we didn't see any. Our next stop is to Sunday River Bridge.
And this is called Sunday River Bridge. It's our second covered bridge in Maine.
It was built in 1872, and it's the most photographed and famous bridge, covered bridge, in all of Maine. So this is an 87-foot trestled bridge, and it stopped having cars on it because it was kind of a one-lane car bridge in 1958, and now you could walk along the bridge instead.
Our last state park on our road trip is to Sabago Lake State Park.
Right now we're at Sabago State Lake in Maine, and it's a big lake with a huge campground and campsites, great for day use. There's a nice little beach and the lake. It's pretty nice.
Sabago Lake is the deepest and second largest lake in Maine. It's approximately 316 feet or 96 meters deep. This is a fun state park to go explore if you want to enjoy the water, especially in the summer. I hope you enjoyed the tours through some of Maine's state parks. Join us next week as we take you on a gorgeous waterfall hike to Moxie Falls. Please subscribe below to follow more of our adventures.